Welcome to How We Heard It, the podcast about music, pop culture, movies, and more, with your hosts Wayne Bledsoe and Chuck Campbell.
And this is How We Heard It. My name's Wayne Bledsoe, and I'm here with
Chuck Campbell. Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
We've got something we want to share with listeners, or I want to share it with listeners. You're more humble than I am, but a lot of them may not realize that you were nominated for a Grammy Award.
That's true. I was nominated for Best Album Notes, along with my buddy Bradley Reeves. We wrote a book as part of a CD release about Arthur Q. Smith. And it was nominated in 2008. It was in 2017 is when it was nominated. 2018 is when we went to the Grammys and when they had the awards.
So what was it like going to the Grammys?
It was fun. That was the year that was at Madison Square Garden. It's usually in L.A. And it's people. A lot of things people don't recognize about the Grammys. It's an all-day event, basically.
Right.
I think we got there at 2:00. And there's about 90 categories. And, of course,
Right.
most people don't even have any idea that the category that I was nominated in is a category.
Right.
But, you get one free ticket. You get to be a Academy member for that 1 year.
Right.
And you can continue being an Academy member, which I think they didn't send me my renewal, so I'm probably not right now.
Were you able to vote for
Yeah.
Grammys then?
Yeah. And the interesting thing, everybody says it's the honor is being nominated. I served on the nominating committee for the category I was nominated in for 2 years. Actually, 3, and I had to drop out because I had some surgery. But when I was on that nominating committee, I actually had to read all the first round nominations.
Really?
And there were
publicly?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, but you have a link to all the nominees, and that first round there were, I think the first year I did it there were 120 nominees.
Oh my god.
The second year I did it, I think there were nearly 150.
And you were voting?
Yeah, that was the thing, is you narrow it down to 5.
Okay.
And there's probably 20 people on the nominating committee, probably around that many. I can't remember for sure. But we were supposed to read all these, and some of these album notes were, a page. Right. Some of them were like what Bradley and I wrote, books.
Right. And you're not reading a book to pick a winner, right?
Well, I mean, that was the thing. Is like, you would get, after you'd read about 20 or 30, you could kind of figure out, okay, I know what my top 5 are right now, and anything that didn't compare with that within a couple of pages, you could say, okay, I'm not going to have to read this whole thing.
Right.
But some of them were so interesting, you wanted to read the whole thing. And some of them you get a little, some of them were not, they're kind of on the line, so you had to keep reading them. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, I was interested in all of them for the most part. So,
okay.
But then you have a couple of meetings by Zoom or whatever, and everybody discusses and puts out what they think are the best ones. And it's pretty interesting because there are some of the people who are nominated that are on the committee, right. And they have to you have to block those out for the time that you're discussing that and then come back to it.
Right. Well, that's really cool. I have to say that when you were nominated, you were so humble about it, and you weren't telling anybody for what I remember.
Well, I called you.
Okay, yeah, but I was just like, oh, wow, that's amazing, because I didn't even know you were in contention, I don't think. It was just sort of out of the blue.
Yeah.
Wayne's nominated for a Grammy. And I was like, wow. And, people are caustic about award shows, and we certainly have had our share of being caustic about award shows. But in a way, they're still important. They're important for especially like technical people, writers and engineers and all of that stuff, because, you put something like that on your resume, and that's a big deal. That makes a big deal in your career and your finances. You know what I mean? Well, maybe not yours. I don't know how many more album notes you wrote, but
I've written a few album notes.
You've always got something going on. And you usually just casually mention it to me.
Yeah,
you're way too humble about yourself.
You've done lots of cover art too.
Yeah, I've done a lot.
Yes,
of
he's also an artist. Yes, WayneBledsoe.com, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yes. We've not been promoting Wayne like we need to.
Well,
I mean,
this is the funniest thing about it. I mean, of course, we went to the Grammys. I took my daughter with me, and we had a great time. And she's telling everybody, we're in the Uber.
She's
and
going to the Grammys with her.
We're going to the Grammys. And he goes, oh, you got tickets? And he goes, oh, he's nominated.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, that had to be a big thrill for her.
Oh,
it really did.
She'd never been to New York.
How old was she then?
I think she was 19.
Okay.
19 or 20.
Oh, that's going to New York City. It was in New York that year.
Well, she told all her friends, I'm going to the Grammys. And it was like, my dad's nominated. But anyway, we get there, and you start at like 2 o'clock. And they had the nomination, or the early awards were in a separate place from the later awards were. But we still got, private performances with, like, the one I liked best was Taj Mahal with Keb Mo. Mm-hmm. And you have this whole room full of people and all these different people waiting for the awards. And you've got Jason Isbell won some Americana award or whatever it was. And it's like, of course, they put it out on the internet. They don't do it on television. But he's walking fairly slowly. He shouts from the back, I'm not running for internet only.
So he took his time getting down there. He took
his time. And the night before the awards show, they have a big party.
Right.
And none of the big people go to the party. It's just the people in the lesser categories. So we hung out with a classical vocal group, Steel Antico. Mm-hmm. And they were jet lagged because they're from England and other parts of Europe. And we met because we figured out where the hors d'oeuvres were coming out because we were both starving. But it was fun, hear these nominees, and they performed in at the ceremony actually, and they were great.
Right.
But it was fun to just hang out and do that. But I was going to tell you, the thing I was going to tell you that was the funniest is that was the year I got laid off at the Sentinel. I was riffed with other folks. And because I don't have a degree, I didn't just walk into some other job.
Right.
So somebody called me, and I did landscape for a year.
Wow. Okay.
So I am at this guy's house. We were putting in an irrigation system, and I don't know how many damn holes I dug because I went and got like $7,000 worth of plants that we had to plant all of them.
Right.
So I'm like covered in dirt and sweat and like spreading this mulch and everything else. And the guy that owns the house was talking to me a little bit. And he said something about the Grammys. And I said, oh, yeah, I was there last year. And he goes, you got a ticket? How'd you get a ticket? And I said, I was nominated. And, I'm covered in all this dirt. I'm like, and I've been digging. And I could tell he didn't believe me.
Right.
I wouldn't have believed me either.
Almost nobody is ever nominated. They're what?
Especially not the dirt ball that's digging in the yard.
So it's certainly not going to be the guy out digging around all dirty and sweaty.
But it's so funny because I didn't work the next day. I could only do that job like 3 or 4 days a week. I could never do it 5 days because it would kill me. But anyway, my supervisor, who was 20 years younger than me, and really one of the reasons I stuck with the job because I just liked working with him, I get a picture on my phone in the middle of the day the next day because he was working. He goes, look what our buddy sent me. And the guy that owned the house found a picture of me on the red carpet. And sent it to Travis. So he was like, so he did believe me. And then we talked later, and he'd read the stories I'd written at the Sentinel, including the one that I wrote that was connected to the Grammy win on that project.
Right.
But it was really funny.
Well, that's awesome. And we don't sing your praises enough.
Well, I appreciate that.
Like John Baker here, our engineer, said, WayneBledsoe.com. Yeah, hello.
We're going to start introducing you at the top of the show because we keep...
We're going to just surprise you and just hit you with it just at any random time. We're going to say, and by the way, this is John Baker, our engineer here at the Arbor. But the WayneBledsoe.com website and your artistic... art. I don't know how to even describe it. I don't know if it's impressionist or what it is, but
it always amazes me because I know Wayne is like this, fairly conservative looking. He's not a long-haired hippie or anything, but
he is at heart, that's for sure.
Oh, I think so.
Definitely.
And look at the art, and you can tell.
Yeah,
But his artwork is like really psychedelic and really just free form. It's really fantastic.
Yes. I don't do nearly as many drugs as it looks like I do for my art.
And he did art for How We Heard It logo. Yeah. So he's also done that. Checked it out. And also, while we're talking about WayneBledsoe.com, I have to say he's got a little side gig on there called The Angry Gardener. And that's, I don't even know how to, it's actually very good gardening advice and background, and it's full of expletives. So it's like
profane.
It's a profane gardening column.
Well, it's, I started because I write for Blank News now, here and there. And I really did it as an April Fool's joke for Rusty Odom, who's the publisher of Blank. I said, I want to start a new column. So I sent him the one on Bradford pears. I had one written on the Nandina bush. And, of course, I use every foul word I can possibly use because it's mostly about invasive plant species.
Yep.
So I use every foul word in every combination I possibly can, and I really feel like that is really my calling, is to be an artist in foul language.
Have you done one on poison ivy?
I haven't done one on poison ivy.
It needs it.
Well, I did kudzu last time, so poison ivy should be next, and I can.
And Bradford pears were a great starting point because they are the bane
awful.
Of yes.
But they're pretty,
stinky. They fall apart in winds. They're destroying other trees. But that's so far off anything we should normally be talking about. But I just had to throw it out there.
There's no should.
So enough about me.
Enough about you. Well, the thing about the Grammys, and as we're recording this is the summer, and we're on the opposite end of the orbit of Grammy period. Nominations are usually November, and awards are February. But I thought it'd be a good time to talk about them. For one reason, they're kind of the genesis of this podcast. Even came back to the days when you and I were both writing about music at the same paper here in Knoxville,
right?
And we would make Grammy picks and. I don't think either one of us took Grammys very seriously. And we would make our picks, and we'd say who we thought should win and who would win. And then we would make fun of each other.
Right.
And I'm absolutely... people thought we really didn't like each other. And there were people who didn't know you were like, oh, you must really hate Wayne Bledsoe. Or it sounds like Wayne Bledsoe really hates you. Yep. It's like, nah, you don't get it at all. I mean, my favorite parts of those columns were always when you insulted me.
Yeah.
That would be the best laugh.
Same here.
And I would volley right back at you. And we just did it for fun, not because we held, like great esteem for the Grammys or disliked them either, but it was just it got us started. And as years went on, and neither one of us is writing about music anymore, and then neither one of us even there anymore, I still hear people say, oh, my favorite thing you did was always when you all wrote about the Grammys. And that was just something we did for fun. That wasn't something we had to research or think about or criticize, really. I mean, just look at the list and just, grab them out of our top of our head.
And the interesting thing about what we covered is you covered the stuff I didn't cover, and I covered the stuff you didn't cover.
Yeah.
So we knew our subjects, and we could make fun of the subjects that the other person knew about.
And that just launched conversations that we had year-round and bored everyone around us. Because for years and years, we would always be in the middle of discussions about stuff like that. Yeah. But the Grammys... it's kind of complicated. Like I said, they are really important from a career standpoint for a lot of artists. Right. When you get up to the big singers and everything, it's just an ego boost. It's like Taylor Swift winning the 4th Grammy for Best Album. I don't think that's going to move the needle any on her. Yeah. It's just more validation for her, which is great. I mean, she's
I don't think there's any headroom for a needle to move anymore.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
She's pegging it.
Yeah. She's what the top speed is 120, and it's past 120. You don't know how fast she's going anymore. She's just flying. Yep. So, and the thing about Grammys, too, is it's incredibly subjective, debatable, And just the whole process is, we're getting in this era, it started, actually the Oscars had a bigger controversy because they had the whole Oscars So White campaign, because the winners were just white after white after white after white. And Grammys have always had some representation for people of color. In the early days, it was old white guys voting for
old white guys.
Frank Sinatra or whatever, so of course, early 60s or whatever, everything had to change and get better from then. And it did slowly get better. And they have tried to take measures. The Oscars also have tried to take measures to how do we get more representation into the nominees so that it's a fairer representation both with nominees and with winners.
And expanded categories and kept expanding categories.
Yeah, they kept expanding. Well, they expanded categories to take people of color, their genres into account. So you would get... you would get rap or dance or Latin, categories because it's like, well, there are all kinds of music they're doing that just aren't falling anywhere in any Grammy categories, current Grammy. Right. So they've been making effort. They've been making strides. For a long time, the big problem was women weren't being represented. They were so tokens. You would get 4 guys and a woman would be nominated, for best album, or maybe 5 guys, and a woman might drop in for a token now and then. And if women are half the population, is that fair that they're almost never winning because they just rarely even get nominated?
And now that's flipped.
Yeah, and now that has flipped.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm glad you said that. The last Grammy show, there were 8 nominees for best album, and 7 of them were women.
Right.
It was 6 solo women singers and 1 band of all women, Boy Genius. And then Jon Batiste was the man.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's been trending that way for years. So women have turned the corner, and they've really made gains. It's more complicated when you're talking about people of color. And when you're talking about, like, one thing that I see, I didn't mean to go this far. Well, we're just blowing my notes out of the door. I should probably rip them up and throw them on the floor. Yeah, this is why you don't have notes, and I just get all frustrated. And it's like, oh, this isn't where I wanted to be talking about right now. But for people of color, so the thing is, like they talk about, I think there have been 61 best albums so far. And the talking point is only 11 black artists have won best album. So that's 11. Well, the thing is, there's the tricky thing about how are you going to do the math on that? Because are you counting Taylor Swift, who's won 4 best albums, as 4 different people? Is she 4 white people or no?
Right.
Because Stevie Wonder, who was really kind of the Taylor Swift of the 70s, he won best album 3 out of 4 years in the 70s. Are you counting him once? Are you counting him 3 times? And there's probably only been like 50 winners for best album, and then maybe 11 of them are black. And it's like, the problem with that is that may sound like, oh, well, that's probably parallel to the black population of the United States. And it's like, you can't undersell the impact that black artists have had on the Grammys.
Well, but here's something to think about too. The Grammys always pick, for the big categories, they always pick the safest. They pick the one that's the most familiar to them. Yeah. The one that's been there the longest. Yeah. And the black artists traditionally have been the innovators.
Right.
So, when Stevie Wonder was recording when he was 13 years old. Right. So by the time he started winning Grammys, he was...
They knew who he was. He was like in the gang. He was in the center circle.
And look how long it took for him to recognize hip-hop and rap. Right. They had to create an entire category for rap before rap could even get in. Right.
Exactly. So. And that's the point I was ultimately trying to come to. It's like, and everybody's talking about measuring sticks. It's like, well, if these are the measuring sticks, then how do you, how can you justify this person winning? Or how can you justify that person winning if that's the measuring stick? Is it about, their track record in the music industry? Is it about what they just did? And is it because of the sales they had, or is it because of the artistic, and that comes down to each individual voter gets to decide that.
Exactly.
Right?
And what people don't understand is, you can, to be a member of the Grammy board, whatever, to be an Academy member, right? You have to get 2 people to nominate you to become a member, or you have to be nominated for an award. Right. So, and sometimes that's a difficult thing to get people in, but all the people at the big record companies, I guarantee you, they're saying, okay, We want you to be a member. We want you to be a member.
Right.
So the bigger the artist, the bigger the artist on the biggest record label, they have the best shot at it.
Exactly.
So,
You're going to vote for a label mate, probably before you're going to vote someone on another label.
And then the people who are, like me, who, by the time I could actually vote, I wasn't keeping up with music the way I did.
Right.
They're going to vote for a familiar name.
Right.
Thus you have catastrophes like Jethro Tull winning
Over
Best
Metallica.
Metal Hard Rock Album.
Everyone knows that. Jethro Tull. I forget who. I think it was Lita Ford or someone who was announcing that. When she said the winner is, she goes, Jethro Tull.
I think it was Lita Ford and Alice Cooper.
Alice Cooper, yeah. And they were just like, oh, why do we have to stand here and get this award,
And, I don't think Jethro Tull had ever won an award for what they should have been nominated for.
Right.
And they're like, oh,
well, that's another
okay,
thing.
Grammy.
Do you do makeup when someone should win an award and they don't, and they release something inferior later, and you look back at the one they didn't get that they should have, you might vote for them then. There's no,
that happens.
There is no real measuring stick. Everyone
Right.
wants there to be, and you had women ganging up and holding their feet to the fire on making it easier for women to be nominated, having more women voters. And the same thing. And the same thing's been happening with people of color.
Yeah.
And the whole people of color, you've got like when you make the point about the black artists only having 11 of 50 of the last winners, have been black. It's like, well, then you've got what are you doing with Latinos? Because I don't think they've won since Santana, and they're actually a bigger minority than the black artists.
But they also created the Latin Grammys so that you have an entirely different
So they're
award
trying
show.
to find a way to keep up with it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. There's positive movement, and when you've got positive movement and well-meaning innovation and people trying and pushing, then you're going in the right direction. It's never going to be all right. It's never going to be fine, and I think that all you can do is just hope for more improvement, hope to see it more progressive, hope to see as much fairness as possible, and there is like undeniable, you're going to, so many people are going to have bias toward their own interests and toward things that are like them. Yep. So cycling out, like the older white guys and having younger people and more women and more people of color and different backgrounds as voters has helping to equalize and bring representation.
Well, it's interesting because they seem to be like catastrophe years with the Grammys.
Yes.
It's like 8, and that because the Jethro Tull win was 1989, the same year that Milli Vanilli won Best New Artist.
New Artist. Yes, that was a complete. I don't want to say that word. Traffic jam. No, like a train wreck. Train wreck. That was a complete train wreck. Everybody uses the S show, but I'm trying to keep it friendly here. I would say.
I was actually thinking, cluster, but
Yeah, well, yeah, there's the cluster. Yeah, well, that's why I'm going train wreck for the cluster. Well, anyway.
Train cluster.
There
train
you go.
cluster, yes.
It's a
that
cluster
went off
wreck.
the rails.
It's a cluster wreck.
And yes. But I think one of the categories that gets the most ridicule is Best New Artist.
It's funny because I looked at that since I knew we were going to do this. I went and looked at the Best New Artist, and it's not as bad.
That's what I was going to say. I went back and it's like, oh, these aren't really that bad. There's some tragic ones, but in general, they're not as bad.
1976, the Starland Vocal Band. They really thought they were going to be the biggest thing out there. Yeah, that's the one that stands out to me. Is like, what?
Yeah, that was pretty
Skyrockets in Flight.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Afternoon Delight.
that
Skyrockets went right down the tubes.
And to be fair, the Beatles won Best New Artist.
64.
So hey, they were, and that was back when the Beatles were scaring people.
Yeah,
they was like they were going
taking long hair like girls,
long hair, and and all that stuff. But,
and Sgt. Pepper won Album of the Year.
Won
in 68.
Right,
came out in 67.
Right. But there were some others that I think were. I think when it comes to Best New Artist, it's a gamble because it's that first album that you're judging someone on. And the first album is the one...
They've had years to work on.
Yeah, you've spent your whole life to that point coming up with that album. And all your passion and all of your feelings are going into that. Second album, you might have a year and a half to churn it out.
Yep.
And so many people have the sophomore slump just because how do you do that? And some people... do it, but a lot of people don't. So
That's
you
more
can
the
win.
exception, though.
Yeah. You can do a great first album, and then the second one, everyone's like, I've kind of heard this before. This is like a diluted version of the first album, you know?
I think the strangest Best New Artist award was when Shelby Lynn won.
Shelby Lynn, who did she win over? Do you remember?
I can't remember who she won over that year, but she had been a country artist for years. She had recorded several albums on Columbia Records and she toured with Willie Nelson and different people. But she won Best New Artist about 6 years into her recording career because she recorded a different style. She recorded an album that was more R&B than anything else, and it was by far her best album, and it's great.
Right.
But it was like I think she was confused by it.
I think the parameters for who's the Best New Artist. It's like they could be in another band. They could,
Right.
So, that's been a problem. I remember one I didn't like was, 1981, Christopher Cross over the Pretenders. That was terrible. Milli Vanilli was terrible.
Yeah.
And interesting. And this kind of feeds some of the ongoing problem with black artists particularly, but artists of color, is you had Maroon 5 over Kanye West in 2004. You had 2010, you had Esperanza Spalding over Justin Bieber, Drake, Florence and the Machine, and Mumford and Sons. So someone we've not heard of beat 4 bands or acts that we have heard of.
I'll actually...
I
think Esperanza
She's great. She's great.
Better than all those.
But you look now and it's like, okay, what...
Who made the impact?
Ask somebody, how many songs do you know by her? And they're like, who? But they're going to know Drake, or certainly Justin Bieber.
But, there's also the ones where, like, Cyndi Lauper won.
Cyndi Lauper,
and it's like,
Cyndi Lauper won in 85.
And totally deserved it.
Totally deserved it. It was a little bit of controversy in 99 when Christina Aguilera won over Britney Spears. But the truth was, she's a better singer.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, Britney may be prettier or whatever, but... Christina Aguilera, better singer.
And deserved it.
I think 2013 was another black eye because you had Macklemore and Ryan Lewis. They beat Kendrick Lamar, Casey Musgraves, and Ed Sheeran. I don't know what you think of Ed Sheeran, but he's pretty, at least prolific.
All those have definitely gone on to bigger careers than Macklemore. Although I got to tell you, I really expected more from Macklemore. I thought he was really good.
Well, it's kind of like, oh boy, we got this white rapper guy knocking off Kendrick Lamar, who may really be, despite what Kanye West may say, might be really the best rapper of our time currently.
Yeah, and definitely went on to be bigger and bigger, whereas Macklemore disappeared.
Right, exactly. They've been getting them right, though. They had Dua Lipa in 2018. She's continued to be big. She did beat Greta Van Fleet, which was kind of the last big loud rock bands,
Yeah, but very derivative.
Yeah. 2019 was so competitive, and you had Billie Eilish, who I absolutely agree won.
Yep.
That was really. She was a teenager at the time, and she went over Lil Nas X, the gay rapper, and Rosalia. I told you I've talked her praises many times from Spain, and Lizzo. Like an amazing soul singer. So that was like a really, really tight competitive year. 2020, Megan the Stallion. Megan the Trainer. And it's like
the Stallion Trainer.
Yeah, but Megan the Stallion, I don't want to get her name wrong ever. I don't want to cross that woman.
She'll beat the hell out of you.
She will beat the hell out of me. I kind of wish she beat Doja Cat. And I got a soft spot for Doja Cat. But either one of those worthy.
You texted me on Doja Cat because I was only vote because at that point I could vote. And you texted me something about it, and it's like I don't even know Doja Cat, and you really got on me that time.
Yeah. Well,
but I didn't. Yeah. But here's another thing people don't realize: unless you are like one of the big folks in the Grammys, you only get like, I think it was 10 categories maybe you can vote in.
Okay.
So I only voted.
Does everybody vote in the majors, or
Yeah,
no?
everybody can vote,
Everybody
but
votes in
you
the
only
majors.
get a certain number that you can vote for.
Okay.
So, like, I only voted in the categories where I knew the artists.
Right. And it's a shame you don't know Doja Cat.
Well, I did.
I mean, she's. I mean, you know, she could take you out too, just as well as Megan Thee Stallion could. I wouldn't want to meet either one of those in the back alley. But, and 2021, my girl Olivia Rodrigo won,
Yep.
and of course she should have won. You know, so that's again, they recognize a really young talent with so much institutional knowledge at such a young age, and ambition and perspective and sense of humor and all that. So totally down with that. This year, I don't know. Victoria Monet beat Jelly Roll and Ice Spice. I think Jelly Roll and Ice Spice probably have more long term, but I may be wrong on that. So
well, Jelly Roll's adapting to whatever. You know?
Yeah. So I'm going to say that. But the best new artist, I thought it was going to be a laugh riot, and it really wasn't.
No.
It really wasn't. I mean, you know, the best I can come up with is like, oh, Culture Club beat Eurythmics in '84, and I probably would have gone the other way. But that's smart. Yeah, that's just a flip a coin. You know, they're both great and kind of on the same. Amy Winehouse beat Taylor Swift in 2007.
And
Amy Winehouse was expected to be, you know, the next big thing. Taylor Swift was recognized as like, wow, she's way ahead of the game for so young.
But Amy,
I can't fault that win.
And Amy Winehouse, if she lived and, you know, kept on track,
Yeah.
probably would be doing great things. I mean, she probably wouldn't be as big as Taylor Swift, but I do think she would still have a good career.
Yeah. I think so too. But so I've been thinking about what we're facing next year, and I've been thinking about where we are as a society.
Okay.
Because we've kind of changed, you know, over the years, and this is a double-edged sword, but in the past, you lost the Grammy, you lost the Oscar, you were nothing but humble, and you were like, oh, they really deserve to win.
Right.
And being humble gave you credibility in the future to kind of earn you a win. And now people are just being more blunt about things, you know, and they're being less humble. They're being more, I guess, egocentric, but at the same time, you can say that's standing up for themselves. And you can also say that's standing up for a cause. And you can say, you know, if you are a black hip-hop artist and you say, okay, Kendrick Lamar and Drake and Kanye West all got knocked out of Best New Artists. Are people even listening? You know, are enough people even listening? And is there just this white bias in the voting of where they're just going to automatically not listen to individual rappers and judge them as opposed to other rappers? You know,
right.
Obviously not, because they picked Macklemore to win. Of all the ones to come out with a win, is that the one who should come out with a win? But and it's uncomfortable because you want there to be representation. And you want to, you know, I think I indicated this, that you don't want it to just be, well, you know, how many black people are in America, and that's the percentage of black artists who are going to, and how many Latin people are in America, and that's the percentage. You know, you don't want it to be like that. You really want to think that the heart of it, for it to have credibility, people are picking the best album. But there's just this subconscious, you know, favoritism based on who you are as to what you think is good. And I think a lot of people are diligently fighting against that. And I think some people might even be like, I'm, you know, like a white person, be like, I'm just not voting for a white person. I'm, you know, and it's like, that's kind of also wrong in a way, but you know, you got to make up ground. And I do think, like I said, you want more than just the raw numbers of representation because of the importance of black artists in music. You can't diminish them to just their flat representation in society because of their importance in music.
Well, you know, the way to make things change in most all this stuff, I mean, everybody looks at the surface, but what you got to do is you need to get more black people or people of color, whatever, in the academy.
Yes.
rather than, complaining about the old white guys that are on the Academy,
Right.
which are in the...
And I think they're trying. I think they're trying to make it more representative in the Academy, and that's what it's going to take.
But it also is part of that is, getting folks to recognize how important this is to people's careers.
Yes.
And saying, okay, you got to spend the $100, $150, whatever it is per year to get people in and get them to vote.
Yes. Yes.
So it's like anything. It has to start from the ground up, and it has to go to where the actual source is, rather than just people throwing shade and complaining about it. You got to figure out how to change it.
Right. And some of there have been a lot of bad best album decisions, maybe even more so than best artist. Like the Christopher Cross over Billy Joel and Pink Floyd.
Oh yeah, and
Lionel Richie, loved the guy. In '85 he won, but he beat Cyndi Lauper, Prince, Bruce Springsteen, and Tina Turner.
Well,
whoa.
Another one of the big ones is the year Abbey Road came out. I think it's in the 1970 Grammys. It's Blood, Sweat, and Tears won over the Beatles' Abbey Road.
Oh,
and, I
nothing
like Blood,
against
Sweat,
Blood,
and
Sweat, and
Tears,
Tears, but
and
really
it's a good
the best
album
of the year, you know.
But what people, the thing that the Grammys always go with, it's like the people that they're most comfortable with, and it's also what is hot right at that moment that they're voting.
Right.
So probably at the time, Spinning Wheel or whatever was the big Blood, Sweat, and Tears hit at the time, was probably all over the place, and people go, oh, yeah, I know that one. I'll check that.
Well, I know you liked the Norah Jones win.
I did like the Norah
over
Jones win.
Eminem, Nelly, and Bruce Springsteen. And it's like, well, it's good to see a woman win, but
she got she got Best New Artist,
and
then she
best
got
album.
Come Away With
this
Me.
was
Okay,
best album.
I can't remember which Bruce Springsteen album was it that year. Do you remember?
I don't know. It was 2003. Maybe not his best. And that's another thing is when you talk about an artist, you have to know the album. Yeah. And I'm going to get into Beyonce here in a minute, because that's what this is all about.
I was wondering why we were on this subject.
It's all about where we're going and this train wreck we might have coming up next year. But
I know now. I understand.
Yeah, you get it, right? Robert Plant over Radiohead. Radiohead kept falling, which was kind of weird.
What was it? What was it that got it the year that Kid A lost?
Why are you asking me this?
It was. I can't remember now, but it was something that was like, it was not a bad album, but it was like Kid A is something that was really different, and it probably. It's not my favorite album particularly, but it is a really important album.
Right.
I wonder what Radiohead thinks about the Grammys.
Oh, they could care less.
Yeah.
Well,
that's what I'm
you
thinking.
know what? And that may affect voters too. If they don't care about Grammys, the voter might say, "Well, I'm not going to give them one. Then I'm going to give it to someone who will appreciate it. Why give a Grammy to someone who's just going to turn their nose up at it?" There's so many different factors going in here, and every single person has their own reason to vote. So it's just like. You get just this big conglomerate of weird, and it doesn't take that big a percentage to win. Now that you've got 8 albums running, you can get 15% of the vote and win. It's like I don't think they have the revote or the. I know some other award shows you have to have like a secondary choice and all that stuff, so it's more of a staggered, weighted type of voting and not just. Straight up, whoever gets the most. But as far as I know, the Grammys is still whoever gets the most.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take much. And you have the issue, like if people are saying we need a woman of color, and you've got 4 women of color nominees and then 1 white guy. That 1 white guy is really in the catbird seat to win. Just because you can split the vote between these 4 women.
Maybe I don't know that people even. I don't think that people look at it like that who are voting for the most part.
They shouldn't
anymore.
And I think they know they shouldn't.
Yeah.
But I think that just personal biases,
right,
and like subconscious biases, are going to drive them to maybe make a choice that is more from their heart than from their head. And you want to vote with your head as much as you can,
right,
because you want to just and ideally that's how it works. And ideally, the best album walks away with it, and that almost never happens.
Well, you have to understand, since everybody can vote. There are people who are voting who have not heard the nominees.
Right.
They may have heard. They know the artists, but they probably haven't heard every one of those albums.
Right.
You know, in the category I was nominated in, you know, being on that committee opened my eyes up to how that works, because and there was a discussion while we were, you know, having our meeting, that we all know that the person or the one that's going to be the winner is the one that has a name that people recognize.
Right.
Like the year that I was nominated.
Although there's some weird things. It's like 2011 Arcade Fire knocked off Lady Gaga, Eminem, and Katy Perry. And it's like Arcade Fire was not as big a name as those three. But those three may have had some negative connotations, so they weren't going to get votes. There are people who wouldn't vote for Eminem. There are people who wouldn't vote for Lady Gaga. There are people who wouldn't vote for Katy Perry. They listened to an Arcade Fire song, and it's like, oh, that's pretty good.
I can't remember what label Arcade Fire were on, but that makes a difference too.
Yeah, were they on Merge?
They were. I think they're on one of the smaller ones.
Yeah, I think they were small.
But they may have been distributed by.
Well, I mean, big. I hear you guys talking about this, and I'm thinking about. I mean, this is not even music, but like. Everybody thought Peyton Manning was going to win the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah.
And it was so expected that I think the voters just were like, I've heard enough about him. Let's give it to...
Well, you want it's like when you're just absolutely confident that Peyton Manning's going to win, you're like, oh, I'm going to vote for someone else to give them the second place.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Give them the second place prize.
I mean, Charles Woodson was just the flavor of the month.
Right. You know, he was, Michigan? Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, and there's also, I mean... And it's the same with fans as it is with people who are voting on this. If you're passionate about an artist, I mean, and probably that was the thing with Arcade Fire. There were probably people who were really passionate about that act.
Yep.
And so on the other acts.
Yeah, and the others kind of get split.
Right.
Yeah. Who were the other ones they were up against?
Well, I don't know all of them, but they beat Lady Gaga, Eminem, and Katy Perry. So three of the biggest names, technically, either for sales or airplay or both.
And really, Arcade Fire is the only rock act.
Right.
And that has something to do with it, too.
If your preference is rock bands, maybe the older people and everything, you kind of don't like all these other genres in the mix, then you just kick all of them out and pick the rock band.
Yeah.
And you had, but it's weird because you had Daft Punk, they knocked off Kendrick Lamar and Taylor Swift. And then you had Bruno Mars, who knocked out Kendrick Lamar and Jay-Z. And that's the thing. When you start seeing Kendrick Lamar and Jay-Z, to some extent Kanye West. Now, Kanye West, it doesn't even matter how good he is anymore because he's just burned himself. That's just something he's self-destructive. Yeah. And there are just people who aren't going to vote for him and they don't care. And I don't have that much, sympathy for that because there just aren't enough people who say, I don't like the guy, but I'll vote for him. People are like, I don't like the guy, and there's someone else I can vote for instead.
And you bring up Bruno Mars with this, and he won so many categories. That's somebody that kind of hits all the bases with older voters, especially. I mean, he sounds kind of like a throwback. Yeah. He is the safest of all those artists.
His music was fun and welcoming everyone. Yep. And he's got a pretty interesting background. I think he's like part Filipino and part like Eastern Europe or something. I can't remember, but he's got an interesting background, So
and totally non-controversial.
Right. And people really enjoy that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's the thing I think is the way we are as a society now. Everybody is just promoting themselves and complaining and entitled, and it's like, it's one thing when you're doing that for a greater cause, like when the women were saying, it's guy after guy after guy, what's going on here? Come on,
Right.
And same thing, people of color. It's like we see Kendrick Lamar go down time and again and not win,
Right.
And Kanye to some extent, and others. So I don't know, but this all leads to what could be an amazing disaster next year. Because what we're shaping up for, this is a year that almost everybody's releasing an album. Mm-hmm. Okay, and we got Taylor Swift with an album.
Right.
And again, we're recording this in the summer. A lot of things can happen between now and nomination time. We don't know who the nominations will be, but there are a whole lot of Grammy favorites that are releasing albums this year, and it's quite conceivable, especially with 8 possibilities, that these people could all be nominated.
Right.
So you got Taylor Swift. She just won her 4th Best Album, which broke a record. No one has won 4 Best Album Grammys before.
Right.
And she's just released one that's only escalating her even more, and now she's in the top 10 all time for making money. I think she just passed Elton John, for making it. Just incredible stuff because she's 34. I mean, she's still got, theoretically got a long time to go. She got an early start, but the thing is, she's got so much momentum, and we've been saying, oh, she's great. We being, the Academy, she's so great. We're giving her the award. We're giving the award. We're giving the award. It's like, would you put the brakes on that now when she's breaking even more records and when she seems to just be peaking even higher? And now that she's eclipsing all these other artists, is this the time to step back and say, we're not going to give you this one? So there's sort of this, are you going to backtrack here and pull back from her on a year that's probably been her biggest year yet?
Oh, yeah.
So you got to justify that. But of course, there's very likely to be some Taylor Swift fatigue with voters. It's like, we got to give it to someone else. Beyonce, now that's the stickler on this list. I think I'll come back to Beyonce. All right.
Wait, this is the whole reason you're doing this.
Well, I know.
You're going to come back to it.
It's like this could be the showtime. The very first album, best album that Taylor Swift won was when Beyonce's was also nominated. So it was the first Best New Album nomination for Taylor Swift and Beyonce.
Right.
And Beyonce's got like 8 years on Taylor Swift, so she was like, in her mid to late 20s, and Taylor Swift is still, I think, a teenager, maybe 18, 19, something like that. Maybe 20.
Maybe 20. I think she's probably 20 by
But
that
she was definitely younger. And that, of course, is when Kanye jumped on stage and said,
I'm gonna let you finish.
I'll let you speak. I'll let you finish in just a minute. But we all know that Beyonce should have won this award. Blah 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 blah. And it's like the last thing Beyonce needs is Kanye West advocating for her, because that's just going to have a backlash. Because people are like, I'm not going to give Kanye West what he wants. So that probably hurt Beyonce.
Probably did.
And then I guess I should just go through her other nominations. The second time she was nominated, Beck won. And that was more like, the first one is like, I don't think anyone's worried that Beyonce loses her first nomination to a teen sensation. Whatever. They know she's going to be around. They know she's going to do better. The second one, she lost to Beck. And it's like, Beck, if you're a music nerd or whatever, you know what he can do. And you know, but if you're just a radio listener, it's kind of like, this guy's been around a while, and I haven't heard much from him now, and Beyonce seems to be. So that's kind of marginal. It's like maybe that one should have gone to Beyonce, instead of Beck. But that's how it is. She lost the second one. The third one, she was up against, she lost to Adele. Now, the thing about, and then with the Beck one, there's Kanye saying, well, he jumped up, and then he got back down. He was going to interrupt Beck, and he got back down, and then he said, well, I just hope Beck respects her artistry enough to give that award to her. So, again, it's like idiot. You're not doing your buddy Beyonce any favors with this nonsense. No, you're not going to get anywhere with that. But the third time, it was Adele. Now, Adele had already won Best Album, and for her first album, and dynamic vocals, one of the most brilliant singers that we've seen in a long time. Deserved it. She wasn't up against Beyonce that time either. This time she was up against Beyonce for a follow-up. And I have to say that Beyonce was absolutely robbed on that one, because that was Beyonce's Lemonade album.
Oh, everybody loved that one.
That was one of the best albums of the decade. It had everything. It was a concept album. Came from a place of truth and realism, and she went through all of these emotions. Visually, it had all of these elements and everything. And Jay-Z had cheated on her, and she's just like putting it out there, putting out the hurt and putting out the anger, and then the indecision and the temptation to cheat on him or getting back somehow. And it just went through all the motions, and then it's like, she ended up in this place of reconciliation and redemption at the end. And it was just like it was beautiful, wonderful. She was absolutely robbed. And Adele went up. Kanye didn't bother her, but Adele went up there and said, Beyonce should have won this one. So she was just saying, Beyonce got cheated this time. There's no question Beyonce got cheated in this time.
But again, that's a lot edgier than Adele was.
Yeah.
And if it's an edginess...
Well, Adele's like, oh, that's a great singer. Let's give her another. And I think that Beyonce's getting some backlash now. That's not really her fault, but it's like, well, what's Kanye going to do now? We're not going to let Kanye have the satisfaction of giving Beyonce a Grammy. It's like, that sucks for Beyonce.
It does. Well, he has definitely hurt her. I mean, when the Taylor Swift, when I was watching that night, and it's like, get this fool off the stage.
Yeah.
Somebody needed
it's
to
like
drug him
he's not helping
off.
anybody, just embarrassed this young woman who was winning an award by telling her she didn't deserve the award.
Yeah.
You know, and it was too soon. You let the first one go, you know, and it's like, well, then we come to the fourth one. All right. And the fourth one I thought was Beyonce's worst album. And here's the thing. I think it's called Renaissance. And it was just basically a reinvention of house music, dance music, which was fine.
Right.
And very uplifting, you know, ain't gonna break my stride kind of messages to it. And it's empowering and uplifting, but it's just kind of like, we've heard this music before. You know, she's got a stronger voice than most of the people who sang it. But kind of a weak entry. And it's like, at this point, it's like, do you just go ahead and give it to her?
Well, that happens a lot. It happens in the Oscars.
Well, I know. It does happen a lot. There's the make good wins, right? Well, instead they gave it to Harry Styles. And people were like, oh, my God, why? But Harry Styles objectively had a really great pop album.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, you got this kid who's broken free from boy bands, and he's a mature man on this album. And he's, you know, so it's like, what are you going to do now? Are you going to turn Beyonce down for a fourth time? Or, you know, do you give it to her that time? And they didn't. Okay, so now we fast forward to this past year, and Beyonce wasn't nominated. And you have Jay-Z, Beyonce's husband, up there. And he gave, in many ways, a really good, poignant speech about, and I'm sure he's looking at Kendrick, and he's looking at Drake, and he's looking at Kanye, and himself, you know, how they just seem to keep losing, you know, even though you are seeing people of color winning awards, it's like this cream of the crop basically not getting that big award over and over for different reasons, you know. And he was trying, he had it, he did as best he could to balance it as, you know, we get mad about it when we know we're not nominated, and then we still watch the awards, you know. Yeah. And it was very self-effacing in a way, really good. But then he turned and said, now, Beyonce has had 88 nominations, and she's had 32 Grammy wins. Okay, she's never won Best Album. And, you know, some of these categories that they created that, you know, might lean more toward women of color or people of color, she's been sweeping up those for years. So she has more Grammy wins than anyone. And the problem here is you have the billionaire husband, a billionaire from his work in music, pitching his billionaire wife like, hey, she needs to get this Best Album Grammy, you know. And it just seemed, with Kanye West, it was tacky, but with this, it was just kind of unseemly that, like, the royalty sitting back and like, we have all these things, but we want this as well, you know. And I think that's probably going to hurt her. I think that he probably did her more harm than good, too. Because she wasn't speaking. She was just sitting there, and it's like, oh, yuck. You know, and you can't blame a man or a woman for advocating for their spouse, you know, and it was just part of his speech. And the other part of his speech was like an A speech, you know, but then it just kind of devolves into this, you know, and you look at the last one she lost, it's like, that wasn't really an album of the year. But then for me, I'm thinking, damn, they cheated her on Lemonade. I mean, that you know, that was just wrong, and she definitely should have an album of the year.
Well, but I mean, I just think that there are, I mean, and there are artists like that. I mean, you think about Martin Scorsese in the Oscars, you know, right? I mean, he finally gets an Oscar after being nominated for however and having, you know, years and years and years. But there are people like that you think, they were robbed. Yeah. And when is it going to hit? And then they wind up getting it for not their best work.
Yeah, exactly. And that could have happened. Instead, they gave it to Harry Styles.
But it still may happen.
Yeah, and it still may happen. Yeah. And you know what? It's like she put out her country album this year.
I know.
So, and that got the ink, and that got the the social media outrage and everything, and you had, old school country fans who may or may not be racist saying that Beyonce's, she's not country, that's not country, and all that.
There's not been anything on Nashville country radio that's been country in 20 years.
How much of it really is country anyway? Is covering Fast Car by Tracy Chapman, is that country? That went down as country.
That's one of the best things that's been on country radio.
I know, but it wasn't really a country song.
No, just
because he had an accent.
Yeah, country music is where late 1970s rock music went to die.
Right.
And they revived it. They're all influenced by the Eagles. Nobody is really influenced who's on the country radio. None of those folks are influenced by.
The Eagles, who lost to America, didn't they? Didn't
America
they did. Your Friends America?
I like America.
That America band that Wayne likes when he's doing his Happy Sunshine Rock.
That's right.
And I'm not going to criticize that, although I just kind of did with my sarcasm.
Well, no, they didn't deserve it to win it
Right.
again. And I listen to the America way more than I listen to the Eagles. But yeah, between the Eagles and America, who should have won? The Eagles should have won.
Right. So what we're facing now is Beyonce set all these records in country music, whether you considered it country or not. And she got all the publicity and everything. And it's like, I think that it's polarizing, but a lot of times polarizing can be good. And maybe people are thinking, you know what? She did achieve a lot of success here with this album, and some people didn't like it, but that's okay to, like rattle some cages and rustle some feathers and all that stuff. So that might push her, but she may just have too much backlash with Kanye and then Jay-Z. And it's like, because one thing, the problem with Jay-Z is, as kind as his tone was through most of it, he was basically shaming people for not voting for Beyonce. Right. And I don't know about other people, but I think the worst way you can make a case to me is by shaming me to do it. That's like, no, I won't do it, know. And so those two, Taylor Swift, Beyonce, this was like a rematch of their first nominations when Taylor Swift won. Could go Beyonce, could go Taylor Swift. Might not go either way, because some of these other people who are coming out, I've mentioned Billie Eilish is like the darling of the Grammys now. She's just 22. She's already had 25 nominations. She's had 9 wins. She won Best New Artist. Her first album won. Her second album was nominated for Best Album. She's won 2 Oscars already for movie films. Again, 22, and she's managed to knock all this off. They're kind of a safe, they're like she's like a critical darling of the Grammys, and that might be a safety zone for them to withdraw from and just get out of the Beyonce versus Taylor Swift light. Another one would be Lady Gaga, who is an older critical darling of the Grammys, and she's had 34 nominations, 13 wins. They always like to fall back on her. Another possibility is Katy Perry, who's like sold albums for years and years. She's had 13 nominations, 0 wins. She's never won a Grammy, and everybody there's always that time when they reward somebody, and if she's mature enough and deemed whatever, it could be Katy Perry, it could be Eminem, okay, because he's 51. He's had 44 nominations, 15 wins, and he is revered, one of the most revered rappers we have out there, and in his 50s now. It's like, how many more rap albums is a dude in his 50s still going to make, that's going to have credibility? And then there's Rihanna. Okay, Rihanna is also a favorite, and she's also never won Best Album, and she's resurfacing, and I think people just like her as a person because she's kind of snappy and funny and doesn't take any crap or anything, and she's sort of been on her own planet. So you got all these options, and who knows, some rando guy or something like that could come up and beat all of them too. But the point I want to make is, if you think it's such a crime that Beyonce's been nominated for 4 Best Albums and hasn't won, Lady Gaga's been nominated for 4 Best Albums and hasn't won. Eminem has been nominated for 4 Best Albums and hasn't won. Rihanna's been nominated twice and hasn't won. And I made a little list of other artists who never won Best Album. And this is just a short list, But the Rolling Stones, Queen, Elton John, Eminem, Rihanna, I just mentioned them, Linda Ronstadt, Joni Mitchell, Madonna, Lady Gaga, I mentioned, Mariah Carey, The Who, Led Zeppelin, Bruce Springsteen, Janet Jackson, Diana Ross, Aretha Franklin. None of these people have won Best Album.
Yeah.
So if it's a tragedy that Beyonce hasn't won, it's a tragedy that these people haven't won either. I don't see that she is so elevated above all these people that she deserves something that they also didn't get. So I don't know. I think, long story short, too late. But I think probably if I were voting, I think I would vote for Rihanna. Because if you're being accused of racism, and that's why Beyonce's not winning, you pick another worthy woman of color and give it to her if she's good enough. Because I wouldn't want to wade in and say, here's another one for Taylor Swift, because that's probably a backlash. You know, if you give it to Beyonce, you're going to have the country backlash. Beyonce is behind the 8 ball now because of her husband, because it's almost going to be tainted if she wins, because people will be like, well, you know, Jay-Z told everyone to vote for her. And it's like, and she's a strong woman. She doesn't need that help. She's going to win at some point. She doesn't need these people getting in her way by trying to help her.
Well, ideally, people would just listen to all the nominees and vote for the one that's best.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, but so many other things go into it that who knows.
And honestly, I think the worst judgment they could make is Eminem. Because you give it to a white rapper now. You know, I mean, you know, is Eminem losing 500? You know, that's one thing, but he's not really popular anyway. But they might give it to him. It's like, oh, here's this old guy. Let's give him one.
I mean,
but it's like, oh, what a time to pick the white rapper. You know.
Well, you know, the year that Steely Dan won Album of the Year for Two Against Nature, it was. I mean, and I'm a very big fan of Steely Dan. I can't remember what all of us nominated, but it was one of those where I was like, yeah, you're just giving this to them because they got back together. And, you know, people
You
like
just have warm feelings for them, and here they are again. So
yeah, I mean,
and that's
a nostalgia vote.
It is, and the album was good. It's like, but it was just another Steely Dan album. You know, it wasn't a great one. It was a good one.
And Eminem stirs them up. I mean, Eminem, it's not like anybody's criticizing him for not being a talented rapper, because he is one of the most talented rappers out there.
Right.
But you still got Kendrick and Kanye and Drake and these other people sitting out in the cold, and it's like, oh, do you want to go that way? You know, that's why I said I thought Rihanna might be the safest bet, because you can say, all right, here's a woman of color who's never won Best Album before. Let's give it to her and move on. But I just feel bad, because these are supposed to be fun and they're supposed to bring enthusiasm and everything. But honestly, it's just and the whole business of complaining, and everybody's been complaining about not seeing what are the metrics, you know, and everybody knows what the metrics are. There are no metrics. It's like you decide for yourself how you pick a winner. And there have been artists like Zayn Malik and Miley Cyrus and Justin Bieber and Halsey. They've all complained about it, and it's like, you know, have a seat. I mean, they're not even talking about, you know, representation or anything. They just want to know where their Grammys are, and it's like, they're not handing those out like candy, you know?
No.
It's like, there are very few. And like that list I just went through of people who've never won Album of the Year, that should tell you, you know, most people aren't ever going to win one of these.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and
I just hate that we're at a point in society where just everyone's complaining and unhappy and everything's a controversy. And there's just going to be nothing but controversy stories coming out after they pick a winner next year, probably, the way it's going. And it's like, I just don't want to hear it anymore. You know, and I mean, and I don't mean to blow off a very real necessary cause to have more artists of color. It's like, but if you're going to pick an artist of color who's being picked on, don't pick that billionaire woman who's won more Grammys than anyone. It's like, pick somebody else. Pick SZA or someone like that. You know,
just get more diversity in the people who cast the votes.
Yeah.
And more people in the industry.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where all the stuff begins. Is the stuff you see is because of what's going on in the background. So you change the stuff in the background, and that's what needs to happen.
Yeah. And I think the Oscars are making. I think the Grammys are making headway. I think the Oscars are making headway. It's just a long, long process, and it's a long learning curve, and it's not easy to just end racism. You can't. It's like it's been an ongoing problem for all time. So it's like, but you just got to work at it and keep moving forward.
Are you ready for some recommendations?
Yeah, let's make some recommendations.
All right. You want to go first, or you want me to go?
You want to do a music one?
Yeah, let's start with music.
Okay.
I want to recommend a fella named Dan Reeder.
Okay.
Dan Reeder is a guy he's a visual artist who lives in Germany, and he released an album years ago when John Prine was alive. He sent a cassette tape. He recorded this album, his first album, completely just on his computer. He built his guitar and recorded this and sent it to John Prine, and John Prine loved it so much he put it out on his album, Oh Boy Records.
Oh Boy Records, yeah, I know that label. And
Dan Reeder is super simple. He writes the simplest melodies, the simplest lyrics, and he's not the sort of poet that somebody like John Prine is. He's just funny as all get out, and his funny songs have some depth to them. And he's one of those guys. He's got a work song which I can't sing here, which comes into my mind oft times when I've got.
Well, I know that's the first way to your heart is something you can't play to everybody.
Well, his first album has several of those songs, but all of his albums, everything that I've heard, and I think he has a new one coming out. It's great. He is somebody that everybody needs to hear, and not everybody's going to like him. My recommendation for movies, not everybody's going to like either. But if you like him, you're going to love him. So,
all right.
Dan Reeder.
Dan Reeder. All right, that sounds familiar to me, too.
I'm sure I played it for you because this first album came out when we were working together, and I'm sure I played you tracks.
Well, my recommendation is someone you guys know well, all right? But okay. I think our younger readers don't know enough about her still, somehow. But we're coming up on the 29th 29-year anniversary of Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill. And that was like a kind of a pioneering moment in the Grammys. She won, she won a lot of Grammys. She won Best New Artist, and she typified a type of woman that we hadn't really heard before, that was just kind of out of control, angry, not a Janis Joplin type or anything, but she was like just processing a whole lot of anger and rage. Obviously with You Ought to Know, but she had Hand in My Pocket and Ironic. Later on, it was on a different album. It wasn't Jagged Little Pill, but Thank You, which is just a beautiful song about finding peace and everything.
And she's touring with that album right now.
Yeah. And so, and I just think that it's good to resurface her because she was, I think, one of the most powerful women in rock. She was kind of not flash in the pan, but she was just sort of a short-lived, that one big album and then a couple of follow-ups, and then she just sort of was gone. But I think a lot of our fight, I don't want to say venom, that we're seeing in women artists now, some of that can trace back to her. So she was influential in her short but loud, spate on radio.
Yeah.
And it's worth listening to it now because it still holds up.
John?
I do have a music recommendation. I do not have a movie, but
okay.
I just stumbled into this. My recommendation for our last podcast was a band that I've known for a while, a band named Idaho, and on the streaming service that I use, when you've listened to an album and it's over, it just plays you stuff that it thinks you might like. And so I had finished listening to that Idaho album and heard a song come on, and it was like finger-picked acoustic guitar and a real kind of whispery voice, and it reminded me of Nick Drake, who was the British folk songwriter.
I love Nick Drake.
But the artist was named Gravenhurst. I'd never heard of him.
Sounds like something from Harry Potter or something.
Yeah. So I just looked him up, and it's mainly one guy, Nick Talbot, and he has a band, mostly guitar, bass, and drums. Some of it is real quiet and melodic like Nick Drake, but other parts of it get louder and rockier, and some people say that they sound like My Bloody Valentine. I don't think they get quite that washy and out there, but they've got I think 5 albums, and I've listened to all of them now, and I've just been obsessing about Gravenhurst. And he died in, I think, 2014. He was only 37 years old.
Wow.
Of undisclosed reasons. I can't find anything about why he died, but I'm just obsessed with him. I've been listening to him for about a week now, and he's just great. So Gravenhurst.
Cool. All right.
Well, I want to recommend a film. I was going to save this for when we do weird films, but I want people to check it out. It's out there, and you need to check it out. I think you'll love it. I think we talked about this before. There's a movie called The Lure.
The Lure?
The
like
Lure.
A fishing lure?
Well, yes. It's a Polish mermaid horror musical. My girlfriend despised
Another
it.
one of those.
Yeah, another one of those. My girlfriend hated it. I've never seen her react so viscerally to any work of art. She despised it. And I've watched it 3 times.
Wow. Okay.
And it is...
Is it funny? I mean, is it dark comedy or is it just serious?
It's funny, but it's not one of those laugh out loud funny ones. It's one where you're going to go, oh. There's one point.
I like the ha-ha-ooh movies.
It's 2 mermaids that are working in a weird Polish strip club. And there's a lot of drug addiction going on. And then the music kind of comes out of, some of the music is kind of on stage, what they're dancing to. Some of the stuff comes out of nowhere. But it is just wonderfully strange. And at one point, one of the mermaids looks at the other one and goes, because she's fallen in love with a human. And the one mermaid looks over at her and goes, if he doesn't fall in love with you too, you're going to have to eat him.
Of course.
But it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
And
when did this come out?
This is about 8 years old, maybe.
And where did you see it?
I think the first time I saw it, I rented it off of some service. But I've seen it since, and it's been on Max. The Criterion Channel probably has it. And it's a female director. I can't remember. Even if I could remember her name, I couldn't pronounce it. She's a Polish director. And I think she has a new film coming out. But The Lure is just, you've not seen another movie quite like it. But it's very conventional in the way it flows.
Trailer first.
No, you'll like it. I can guarantee you'll like it.
All right.
Yeah, Sarah despised it. It may be, that she just didn't like it.
Well, if you have a strong reaction, that's still interesting.
Yeah.
You know?
But, these are very, young, lithesome mermaids.
Right.
And they're...
Are they like wiki-watchy mermaids or something like that? Like the old school ones that performed in Florida off the road?
No. But they get in the bathtub every once in a while.
Are they in Poland?
Yeah, they're in Poland. And they have to occasionally get in the bathtub to, stretch their fins. So their fins, their legs turn into fins. But they also have to eat.
Yeah.
And what they eat is human.
And they're not vegetarian.
No.
Okay.
But it's dark.
Cannibal mermaids from Poland.
Cannibal mermaid horror musical.
Okay. I've seen a bunch, but maybe I'll finally see another one.
You'll love it. I think John will love it too. Who knows? Leslie may hate it. It may be just a male thing, but I don't know.
Well,
we'll see.
One way to find out.
Yep.
Well, my How We Saw It recommendation is Let the Canary Sing, Cyndi Lauper. It's a documentary about Cyndi Lauper that came out this summer. I saw it on Paramount Plus. I'd say at this point it could be in other places as well. I will say it had a bit of a slow start because she had, she grew up in New York, yada, yada, and it wasn't the best family environment. And you've seen that documentary before,
right.
But you get to the whole She's So Unusual part of Cyndi Lauper and her determination to go into music, how she ruined her vocal cords in her first band, Blue Angel, and had to learn to sing all over again and sing in a different way for when she came out with She's So Unusual, and just a lot of great parts about why she was, such a powerhouse and the different kinds of music she made besides those first 2 albums that everybody, knows and that were done so well. I saw an interview with her where she was talking about she regrets that her record label had convinced her that she and Madonna were rivals and that Madonna was her competition, because she really could have used a friend, And but it goes into her I think her sister is lesbian, and she's in this, and she came to know a lot of gay people in New York and became such an advocate for gay causes. And
Right.
you see the roots of that, and but just how she kept twisting, and just how she was always going to be who she was going to be. And even though she was very nice and everything, she stood up for the kind of music she wanted to make. And it gave me new respect for her. I had a lot of respect when she first came out, and she was like on top of the charts. And she was a little slower. She would just put an album out every 3 years. And back then, like Madonna, her rival, put out 3 albums in 4 years. And Cindy was just putting one out every 3 years. So she didn't have the drive to just keep the market filled with her product, and I think that kind of slowed her down. But I heard a lot of later songs of hers that I knew and I was aware of, and realized that they were just like really great songs too. Yeah. And you just kind of blew past them. But anyway, Cyndi Lauper, I'm bringing her up because, of course, we've been talking about the Grammys, and she did have a big Grammy splash.
Right. And I interviewed her. I can't remember if she had just finished writing Kinky Boots or it just.
Yep, she talked about Kinky Boots.
And when I interviewed her, it's the first time I'd ever talked to her. I was really impressed. She seems extremely smart. She was really nice.
Yeah.
And we both loved Cyndi Lauper.
Well, it made me want to, because they were showing some footage, and I didn't tell you this, but I did go see a Cyndi Lauper in Gainesville, Florida, and the Bengals were opening for her. I think they were label mates, and they had there was a period like her song "Change of Heart." They were the backing vocals for that, and in the Goonies, they were singing backing vocals for that, so they were good. But what I used to do back when I was poor, I would go to like Sears, and I would get like a portable recorder. And I got one. I took it to the Cyndi Lauper concert and recorded it. And then I took it back to Sears because I couldn't afford that recorder. But I had the cassette. So I had this black, whatever cassette. I guess it would have been an illegal download today. And I used to listen to that all the time and thought this was amazing for just Gainesville, in the middle of the week. It wasn't like a big New York show or something. And it was a good show. But anyway, I have fond memories of her. And like I say, slow start, just kind of generic biography of somebody from New York, in the 50s and 60s. But you really see her personality coming out, and just a really good artist and a very unique artist.
I definitely want to see that one.
All right,
cool.
I think we want to go, don't we? All right, we got things to do, so we loved having you listen to us, and we hope we will make you happy with future podcasts too. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.